It all started with a party. "Hey, babe," Amanda called from the bedroom one Saturday evening. She stood in front of the mirror, rifling through her wardrobe, holding up dresses like she was auditioning for a role. The red one in one hand, the black in the other. "Do you think the red or the black?" she asked, tilting her head, studying her reflection. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, grinning. "Black. Always black. Red's too loud for you." "Loud is exactly what I need," she said with a wink. That should have been my first clue. Amanda wasn't a loud kind of person. She was sweet, dependable, the kind of woman who made lists for everything and color-coded the calendar. But lately, something had changed. She had grown restless, going out more often, meeting friends I had never heard of, attending events she described as networking things. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted her. That night, when she finally stepped out of the bedroom, she was stunning. Her dark hair cascaded down her back in waves, her lips painted a dangerous shade of red. I kissed her goodbye at the door. "Don't have too much fun without me," I joked. "Promise," she said, flashing me a smile. A smile that, looking back, wasn't quite as genuine as I had thought. She left, and the house felt different without her. Too quiet, too still. I flipped through TV channels, trying to distract myself, but my eyes kept flicking toward my phone, waiting for a message, a check-in. Around midnight, I gave in and sent her a quick text. "Hey, having fun?" Her reply came minutes later. "Yeah, it's great. I'll be home soon." It reassured me, at least for a while. But as the hours passed, unease settled deep in my stomach. Amanda wasn't the type to stay out late, not without checking in again. By 2 a.m., the movie playing on the screen had become background noise to the thoughts racing through my mind. Something didn't feel right. By 3 a.m., I couldn't sit still anymore. I paced the living room, phone in hand, debating whether to call. "Don't overthink it, Kevin. She's fine," I told myself. And then, just as I reached for my phone, the front door creaked open. Amanda stumbled inside. I froze. Her hair was disheveled, her lipstick smeared, half wiped away. One high heel dangled from her fingers, the other still strapped to her foot. And the stench of alcohol clung to her like perfume. "Jesus, Amanda." I rushed over as she nearly tripped over the edge of the rug. "What the hell happened?" She let out a slurred laugh, waving me off. "I'm fine," she muttered, her voice thick with exhaustion and booze. "Just had a bit too much." "Yeah, I can see that." I caught her arm, steadying her as she swayed on her feet. Her eyes were glassy, rimmed in smudged mascara, like she'd been crying. Or sweating. I sighed, got her some water, and helped her into bed. Everyone's entitled to blow off steam now and then, I reasoned. No big deal. But the next morning, something was off. Amanda sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee, her movements sluggish. When she shifted in her chair, she winced, as if even sitting was uncomfortable. "You okay?" I asked, watching her carefully. "Yeah," she mumbled. "Just hung over, that's all." But as the days passed, her mood didn't improve. She was distant, distracted. The woman who used to laugh easily now seemed tense, irritable. And then there was the phone. She started keeping it face down, carrying it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. One evening, while we were watching TV, I finally asked, "Is everything okay with you?" "Of course," she snapped, a little too quickly. "Why wouldn't it be? I didn't push. I should have." A week later, I came home from work earlier than usual. As I walked toward the kitchen, I heard Amanda's voice drifting from the bedroom. I stopped. Her tone was different, clipped, serious. Curiosity got the best of me, and I hovered outside the doorway, careful to stay out of sight. "Yes, that works. I'll come by around 11, she said. A pause. Then, "No, I'd prefer to keep it private for now." "Yes, thank you. I'll see you on Thursday." The words were vague, but my gut twisted. A doctor's appointment. It had to be. But why hadn't she told me? If something was wrong, wouldn't I be the first person she turned to? I knocked lightly and stepped inside. "Hey, everything okay?" I asked, forcing a casual tone. Amanda jumped. "Kevin, I didn't hear you come in." She slid her phone into her pocket and forced a smile. Yeah, everything's fine. Just catching up with a friend. A friend. I nodded, but something felt off. The way she avoided my gaze. The way she had spoken, formal, professional. It didn't add up. Oh, I said, keeping my tone light. Anything exciting? Not really, she replied too quickly, turning back to the laundry spread across the bed, folding a shirt with unnecessary focus. If it was just a simple conversation, why was she acting so nervous? I wanted to press her, to ask what was really going on. But I let it go. That was a mistake. The day of her appointment, I did something I never thought I would. I followed her. It sounds invasive, I know. But the uncertainty was eating me alive. She left a little after 10:30 a.m., dressed casually, jeans, a sweater, her purse slung over her shoulder. I waited a few minutes, then grabbed my keys and slipped out the door, keeping my distance as I tailed her across town. Amanda was hiding something. And I was about to find out what. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for a few scattered cars under the dull glow of the streetlights. Amanda's vehicle was one of them, parked outside a small, nondescript health clinic. My heart sank. This wasn't a regular doctor's office. It was a lab, the kind that specialized in tests. A knot formed in my stomach as I sat in my car, parked a few spaces away, watching through the windshield. My mind raced with possibilities, each one darker than the last. Amanda stayed inside for nearly an hour. When she finally emerged, her shoulders were hunched, her steps hurried, her entire demeanor tense. She didn't pause, didn't look around. She simply climbed into her car and drove off, completely unaware that I had been there, watching. That night, I waited. After dinner, Amanda muttered something about taking a shower and disappeared into the bathroom. The moment I heard the water running, I moved. My hands trembled as I slipped into the bedroom and reached for her purse. Half of me hoped I wouldn't find anything, that this was all in my head, some elaborate misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. Inside the side pocket, folded neatly, was a thin piece of paper. A receipt. I unfolded it, my eyes scanning over the words. Receipt for laboratory services. Test conducted, STD panel. The ground beneath me seemed to shift. My stomach churned as the implications crashed over me like a tidal wave. Amanda had gone in for an STD test. Why? Was she sick? Did she think I had cheated on her? Or was she the one who had done something she wasn't proud of? The questions clawed at me, each one more suffocating than the last. Then, the shower turned off. Panic surged through me. I shoved the receipt back into her purse and stepped out of the bedroom, forcing myself to move normally, to breathe evenly. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, pretending to scroll through meaningless apps as if nothing had happened. But my pulse pounded in my ears, and no matter how hard I tried to focus, my mind kept returning to that slip of paper and the truth it threatened to reveal. Later that night, Amanda fell asleep early, claiming she wasn't feeling well. I didn't question it. I waited until her breathing grew slow and steady, her body completely relaxed beside me. Then, carefully, I slipped out of bed. In the darkness of the living room, the only light came from the glow of Amanda's phone screen. It was unlocked. I hesitated, guilt gnawing at me, but the need for answers outweighed the shame of what I was about to do. Her messages were mostly normal, conversations with coworkers, group chats filled with dinner plans and casual banter. But then I saw it. A thread with a name I didn't recognize. Jenna. The conversation started innocently enough. Amanda had thanked Jenna for inviting her to the party that night. But as I scrolled further, my stomach twisted. Jenna, girl, you were wild that night. I still can't believe you did that. Amanda, please don't remind me. I was so drunk I can barely remember half of it. Jenna, well, I've got the receipts if you ever forget. The air in my lungs turned to lead. My fingers moved faster, scrolling through the thread, dread building in my chest. Then I found them. A string of photos. Videos. I opened the first one. The grainy footage showed Amanda in the middle of a crowded room, swaying unsteadily as music pounded in the background. A man's arm was around her waist, pulling her close. She didn't resist. Another photo. Amanda laughing, head thrown back, 2 other men standing beside her, their expressions unmistakable. And then, the video that shattered everything. My hands shook as I tapped play. The camera was shaky, but clear enough. Amanda was in a bedroom. 3 men surrounded her. She was laughing, stumbling, her words slurred. But she wasn't stopping them. They touched her, pulled her down onto the bed. And she let them. My stomach twisted violently. My fingers dug into the phone. My chest felt like it was caving in, the air in the room suddenly thick, suffocating. This wasn't just a drunken mistake. This was something else entirely. I couldn't process it. Couldn't breathe. But one thing was clear, I needed to keep this evidence. My hands were still shaking as I forwarded the entire conversation, photos, videos, everything, to my own phone. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I had to have it. Once the messages were safely sent, I went back and carefully deleted the conversation from Amanda's phone. If she checked, she wouldn't suspect a thing. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the screen in my hands, my mind spiraling. The woman I loved. The woman I thought I knew. She had done this. I wanted to wake her up, to shake her, to demand answers. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I placed her phone back on the nightstand, exactly as I had found it, and returned to the couch. I didn't sleep that night. The weight of the truth pressed down on me, suffocating. Amanda had lied. Had betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. And no matter how much I wanted to pretend it wasn't real, the evidence was there, burned into my memory, sitting in my inbox like a time bomb. She had to face what she had done. When she woke the next morning, I said nothing. I simply picked up my phone and started forwarding the photos and videos. To her family. To her friends. To everyone who thought they knew her. I wasn't going to let her keep pretending. When Amanda walked into the living room, her phone vibrated in her hand. She glanced down. And froze. Her face drained of color, her breath catching in her throat. I watched as her fingers trembled, swiping through the messages, horror creeping into her expression. She knew. She knew what I had done. And she knew, her secret was no longer a secret. Amanda's voice trembled, a mixture of fear and disbelief, as she stared at me, her phone clutched tightly in her shaking hands. What did you do? Her wide, tear-filled eyes searched mine, desperate for an answer that wouldn't shatter her world. I didn't flinch. I told them the truth. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. I had nothing left to give her, not anger, not pain, not even hatred. Just the cold, bitter truth. Everyone knows who you really are now. They know about you and your little secret. She took a shaky step forward, her lips parted as if searching for the right words, but I raised my hand, stopping her in her tracks. No. The anger that had been simmering beneath the surface finally began to rise, bubbling over with every breath I took. You don't get to hide anymore, Amanda. You don't get to lie to everyone and pretend like I don't know what you've done. She shook her head furiously, her body trembling, tears brimming in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered, her voice breaking. It was a mistake. I was drunk and... Don't. The word came out like a sharp blade, cutting through the air between us. You knew what you were doing. You knew exactly what was happening. And now, you have to live with the consequences. Her face crumpled, and the first sob broke free from her lips. Kevin, please, she gasped, her voice raw with desperation. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. It was just a mistake. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. You didn't just make a mistake, Amanda. You cheated on me. With 3 guys. At the same time. My voice rose with each word, the sheer weight of it finally breaking through the last of my restraint. And now, after everything, you think you can just brush it off like it was nothing? Her sobs came harder now, shaking her small frame. I didn't want to hurt you, she choked out. I swear, I didn't mean for this to happen. I stared at her, feeling nothing. No sympathy. No second thoughts. Just an overwhelming sense of finality. You didn't want to hurt me? My voice was quiet, almost disbelieving. Do you have any idea how I felt when I saw those videos? How you made me look. Made me feel. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. You made me a fool, Amanda. She reached for my hand, her touch hesitant, pleading. But I pulled away, the distance between us growing in every way that mattered. No, my voice was cold. You don't get to fix this. Not now. Not ever. I'll do anything, she begged, fresh desperation in her tone. I'll go to therapy. I'll prove to you that it was just a mistake. Please, Kevin. I let out a slow breath and met her gaze. You don't get it. She blinked, her tears still falling. I know about the STD test. Her entire body went still. I saw the moment realization dawned on her, the exact second she understood the full weight of what I knew. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Kevin, You knew something was wrong, I interrupted. And now, I'm the one left picking up the pieces. Her face twisted in anguish, but I didn't care anymore. No more excuses, Amanda. My voice was steady, firm. It's over. I'm filing for divorce. Her entire body jerked, as if the words had physically struck her. You're serious, she whispered. Yes. Finality. Clarity. Freedom. You ruined this, Amanda. You ruined us. And I'm done. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably, her hands clutching at her own arms as if she could hold herself together. Please, Kevin, she gasped between ragged breaths. Don't leave me. I love you. I closed my eyes for a brief second, letting the words settle over me. And then I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I loved you too, I said quietly, turning toward the door. But that's over now. I walked out without looking back. As I stepped into the crisp morning air, I felt empty. Not broken. Not even angry. Just hollow. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was gone. The person I had just left sobbing on that couch wasn't her anymore. She was someone else. And I wasn't going to spend another minute of my life trying to fix what she had broken. Weeks passed, and eventually, Amanda's test results came back. Positive. My stomach had twisted as I drove to the clinic, terrified of what my own results would say. But by some miracle, I had been spared. Negative. Clean. Safe. It was the first time I had truly breathed in what felt like forever. The fallout from Amanda's betrayal was swift and brutal. Her family. Her friends. Everyone who had once loved and admired her. They saw what I had seen. They watched the same videos, read the same messages. And they were just as disgusted as I was. The perfect image she had built for herself crumbled, leaving her isolated and alone. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. It was long, exhausting, painful. But in the end, Amanda walked away with nothing. No alimony. No assets. Not a single thing from me. I made sure of it. She had taken enough already. I wasn't going to let her take any more. Over time, I rebuilt my life. Amanda tried therapy. She called over and over, desperate for forgiveness. But I had nothing left to give her. Slowly, the calls stopped. The messages ceased. She faded from my life completely. The lies, the betrayal, the pain, it all became distant memories, shadows of a life I had left behind. And finally, for the first time in a long time, I felt free.